We really aren't sure what year it is right now, or if we're in some sort of time loop, but we are sure that pop culture goes beyond space and time. So Loop and Larry are proud to bring you our 4th annual year-end review, with very special pop culturalists, Backstage Ben and Neil Temple of Doom.
In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Oh, yeah! That's what that was.
First explosion of 2022.
That's right. That is right. Hey, everybody, I'm Loop.
And I'm Larry.
There you go. He's a little behind. He's still in 2021. And this
I'm
is
Larry.
This is Guardians of Geek. Oh, this is not a good start already. No. This is our 4th annual year-end show. And 2020, I'd say 2021 was better geek-wise than 2020 as far as like the content was concerned. I don't know how great it was generally. Like in Star Wars terms, we sort of started as The Last Jedi, then we went into A New Hope, and then we ended up with Attack of the Clones. So that's where we are right now. That's where we're sort of sitting right now in 2022.
That put it in perspective. For now, I understand.
Now you understand kind of where we were mentally in those stages.
Yeah, that's how I understand things.
We got a couple of great guests with us again. Coming back from last year, we've got Backstage Ben. How you doing?
Very well. Thanks for having me again. I'm glad I got invited back.
It's a rigorous process to get invited back. So
it's like
almost didn't make the cut this year, but
we said, okay, who was there last year? All right, we're good. And then, no, he was great. You were great last year. We wanted to bring you back. And of course, Neil Temple of Doom back again. And look at this room of yours.
This is my living room.
This is the geekiest thing we've ever seen. This is fantastic.
I love that. That's great.
It's like every Marvel movie, there's just Easter eggs to keep an eye on in the background. I love it.
Anytime you can put a Ghostbusters proton pack right beside Captain America's shield, you know you're doing well.
Yeah, got Grogu right underneath the shield there.
Yeah, there he is, little guy there.
Hiding back there. Yeah.
And then Batman looking over his shoulder. This is like you got everything covered.
Yeah, that's my roommate. Yeah. It's his stuff too. I won't take credit, but a lot of cool stuff to look at here.
Neil does a lot of talking to Grogu when we're not here. So
yeah, no, he's been eating all my eggs. So
So looking back at 2021, we're going to look at TV shows hits and misses. We're going to look at movies hits and misses. We've got an open category which could be anything hits and miss, and then finally what we're looking forward to in 2022. So let's kick it off. Let's get right into hits and shows. Larry, take it away.
Okay, so TV was pretty good this year. So this is, you'll find in all the categories that I've got, it was really tough for me to narrow down the top hit of the year and the top miss of the year. Quite honestly, there was a lot of good stuff going on. So my top hits for 2021 in TV, I really had 3 of them, but I'm going to focus on one. Okay, so my top hits, of course, Hawkeye is right up there. Loved Hawkeye. It might be in my top 8 all-time Marvel things. That's a pretty random number 8, but that's what I came up with.
No, it's not number 9. It's definitely number 8, or it would have
been. Yeah, that's where I put it. So that one's in there, and then of course, because I can't not love this Book of Boba Fett, but I can't say we were only 2 episodes at the time of recording this. We're only 2 episodes in, so yeah. I'm reserving complete judgment.
I'd almost put that in 2022 than 2021, just because.
Well, that's
even though. Here we go.
There you go.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. There it is. Nice. Oh, and that's the prototype helmet as well. Nice.
Nice.
Beautiful. And now you're gonna wear that the rest of the show.
And now he's Scarface, basically.
So I put that in there. But okay, so what I'm going with my big hit, and it was a bit of a surprise hit for me for 2021, was a little show that appeared on Netflix created by Saturday Night Live alumni Kyle Mooney and produced by Lorne Michaels. A little show, animated show called Saturday Morning All-Star Hits. I don't know if you're familiar with, anybody familiar with this?
I have not watched it, but I've seen the preview.
Okay, so this is, sorry, yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I've seen the trailer on like Teletoon or something, or maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's on. It's a Netflix show, so it's on Netflix. It's only 8 episodes, but first of all, I really like Kyle Mooney. I think he's
I love him.
Comic. I think he's hilarious. But so this show it literally is like found footage almost, but it's like a lost show from the late 80s, early 90s. And it's presented like you've bought the VHS box set of this series. So each episode they're not called episodes, they're called tapes. So there's tape 1, tape 2, tape 3, there's 8 tapes. Yep. And it's literally like you've turned on YTV in Canada in the late 80s or early 90s, or Teletoon or something like that. So it starts with like the blue VHS screen with the play and the, like, as if you pop the tape in. It's all presented in 4:3, like like it would have been in the 80s. And it's like a half hour of like Saturday All-Star Hit. So they've recreated little cartoons, like parts of stories throughout this half hour, but it's hosted by twin brothers Skip and Trebor, who are both played by Kyle Mooney, and they're on screen at the same time. And they're totally 90s like hip kids who are hosting
BJs,
this. Yes, like BJs. And then they'll throw to a cartoon. So they've got a few different cartoons, and they're all like sort of takeoffs of what we would have seen, except one. So one of their main ones is called Randy, and it's a dinosaur who lives in the world of humans. But it's very adult, this show. So Randy goes to parties, gets totally drunk, throws up a lot, has real adult like problems. It's a little bit depressing for the first couple episodes. Anyway, then he goes off to college. It's a little bit like, what? Okay. So then he goes off to college. So there's that one. There's a Care Bears takeoff or spinoff called Create-A-Crittles. They're called Create-A-Crittles, but they look just like Care Bears. They paint, like one of them has got paintbrushes for hands, one of them's made of glue, one of them's made of glitter, and they help a guy who's the marketing guy for a Subway company, create a new logo. It's very weird, but anyway, that's what that is. And then their third cartoon that I've seen, so I haven't finished the series yet. There's only a couple. I've only got a couple left. It's called Strongimals, because in the 80s there was always an animal like a Thundercats or something. So this one's called Strongimals, and they're literally like a group of super buff animals that are sent to Earth to promote peace, and they are constantly battling the war boars, which are like a group of like pigs that are sent to Earth who only want war. And they just land and they just kill people, and it's super violent. There's a lot of blood, and so it's the war boars fighting the Strongimals. But then anyway, this storyline, but it's really well done. Like, it's actually really clever. But then it's an ongoing story, so you kind of have to watch all the episodes in order, because the two brothers, Skip and Trebor, Skip gets a voiceover in Strongimals, and the brother gets kind of jealous about the fact that he's got this VO, and it's really, and it's like a one-word VO, but he makes a big deal of it. And so then the ongoing story is this tension between these two brothers on screen as they're trying to host this thing, and Skip is getting more, like, his head is getting bigger. Anyway, I don't want to give it too much away, which is probably too late now because I've given everything away. But it's for geeks like us of our generation, it totally is a throwback. Like, that he's done a really good job of recreating that late 80s, early 90s Saturday morning TV show vibe. So it's a big hit for me for 2021. You should check it out. Again, it's called Saturday Morning All-Star Hits.
Yeah, I've never even heard of it, so I'll definitely check that out. I love Kyle Mooney. He's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really funny. I think you'll like it.
All right. Well, Neil, what do you got on the schedule?
For best shows, geez, I can't just pick one because there's so many great shows. There were some really great DC superhero shows this year, and starting with Superman and Lois, which I thought was great because they explore the dynamic of Superman and Lois having kids and whole new threats to their reality and everything. And I also really loved Stargirl season 2, which also happened last year and had a lot of great Justice Society of America characters and appearances. And that's why I tune in. It's not for Stargirl herself, although she's great. The whole cast is good. A little bit of CGI issues. I didn't like Solomon Grundy, but otherwise, it's a really, really great show, Stargirl. And I mean, I gotta agree with Larry on the Hawkeye. I enjoyed Hawkeye, even though it's only 6 episodes. I thought the final episode 6, was action packed, a lot of fun, down in Rockefeller Plaza there in New York City, with the big Christmas tree and everything. So it was very appropriate to watch that at Christmas time. There was a lot of really good shows, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go back to the Book of Boba Fett. Was a lot of fun, and Cobra Kai. I can't forget that. Okay, so Cobra Kai started on December 31st, and you could actually binge watch all 10 episodes.
So it still fits in. You still got it.
So it did. It just slid under the radar there. And I think Cobra Kai season 4, thanks to the few characters coming back, especially, I thought was the best season of Cobra Kai so far. On Netflix. So definitely Cobra Kai season 4. Terry Silver's back. Other characters are back too, but I won't spoil it. Go see it. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Ben, what do you have?
It was tough. So I actually, initially I went way back. So Neil goes as he gets right in the deadline. It's January 31st, January 15th. I can't believe that WandaVision was a 2021 show.
Oh,
yeah.
But it was
totally forgot about it. Yes.
I loved it. I adored every moment of that show and how different it was. And I mean, Marvel continues to prove that they can take a crazy, wacky idea that shouldn't work and they make it work. And it has launched a year of unbelievably good television. At their worst, which maybe was Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's still good. Like, it was fun to watch. It's entertaining. It's a different style. Everything that they've done has been really good. But Larry, I wasn't sure if you were going to beat me to it. I think that Midnight Mass has to be a huge hit for me.
Sorry,
so good.
Again,
good
just
call.
Surprisingly moving and another unique way of telling a rather familiar story, but with such unbelievable, the cinematography in it, even I think it catches you off guard sometimes how there are some crazy long one shots that they take, along the beach and that sort of thing. Like, it's unbelievable what Flanagan was able to do, I think, with that story. And though, Larry, we talked about this, I think we may have been a little disappointed that we weren't getting another haunting show. He was able to just give us something completely out of left field that I thought worked so well. And it's one that really stuck with me the whole year.
Yeah, I was obsessed. Yeah, I was obsessed with Midnight Mass. It was so well told, and I was like, every episode left you, and you're just like, what's going to happen next? Like, how are they going to get out of this? What's going on? And it was just, I love the religion mix with the vampires and everything else.
Absolutely,
so good, so well done.
But what I loved even more that they never ever once used the word vampire.
No,
it didn't. That wasn't what this. I mean, that's obviously what it was, but it wasn't about that. Like, they weren't vampires; they were who they were. Like, they were. This is who they became. There wasn't a title for them.
It was a great way of doing it. And I think that it was a good thing that they took their time kind of introducing that idea, because they could have lost some people right off the bat had they come to that too early. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, it's a little cheesy, right? With the vampire in the old decrepit building when they first see him and that sort of thing. And it's like but you're already so invested in everybody. And I think that you've already seen what a great job they're doing with everything that you want to follow through.
It was absolutely amazing. I think we can all agree that might be the top show of the year. Quite possible.
It was
also
definitely up on my list.
Yeah. The other rare thing about that show is that it's uncommon to have a horror TV show or a horror movie create deep emotion. Like
Absolutely.
At the end of the show, I was almost in tears. Like, that's for a horror based piece of work, that's rare. That you are so emotionally invested in this thing. It's amazing what he did.
It's a great time to be a horror fan, because there are so many movies and TV shows now where it is like it's much deeper than just jump scares and gore and violence and tension and that sort of thing. Like it's really the drama that is brought into these stories is unmatched. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I was followed basically you guys. Midnight Mass was up there for sure. My top 3. WandaVision, which again, I forgot it came out last year. Like I thought it was like in 2020, but it was literally the beginning of yeah, that's a long year because there's like 4 major shows from Marvel that year. But WandaVision, like of course, like launched that whole like the TV side of Marvel in such a great way. And I was like Hawkeye or I loved Hawkeye because I'm a big fan of like the Matt Fraction comic, right? So like I was marking out through the whole thing because I was like, oh, that's from the comic. That's from the comic. I was driving everybody in my house nuts because they hadn't read it and I had, right? So I'd read the whole series. It wasn't exactly the same, but it had a lot of the elements from it. But and Hawkeye's one of my favorite heroes. So that was like in the comic heroes, not necessarily Marvel Universe heroes. So that was pretty exciting. But WandaVision, I'd have to give it to it because it launched it. And remember all the mystery of it, like what was happening, what was going on. And then Mephisto was like in everybody. It's like, it's got to be the villain of it. It's got to be the villain. Like there's so many things of that particular series, which just launched it in such a great way and launched a bunch of new heroes and we could kind of see where it's going. But I happen to like, this might be a hot take, but I liked Captain America Winter Soldier better than Loki. I don't know about you guys. I thought Loki was good. I just didn't think I thought it was a little slow for my tapes, but
weirdly it was. Yeah, I agree. It's crazy how nuts it could be and was, but also there was it just kind of dragged in between those really wacky parts.
Yeah, it was hit and miss, I thought, Loki, for me. Yeah. Best foreign show, guys, because I completely forgot about it. It's not only best foreign show, it's probably really the best show of the year. And I can't believe we forgot about Squid Game.
Yes! Oh my God, yes! I 100% forgot about that.
You know what, though? Honestly,
that should be my number one. Totally slipped my mind.
What about the ending, though? The ending. Oh, the ending. It bothered me so much. I didn't like how it ended. Oh, and it really, it wrecked it a little bit for me.
What about the ending? I'm curious to know about that. What about the ending?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. I guess I didn't think it came together as well as it could have with the old man being so tied into it. His motives didn't seem like they were like reasonable, for me to be a part of it. And then just watching me back on the train too, it just kind of threw away so much of what had built up over the series. I thought that it didn't. Literally the very, very ending of it just kind of left me a little bit sour. But I mean, it was a show I did not expect my wife to want to watch with me. So I started it on my own. And then she was like, what, you're starting Squid Game without me? And yeah, I didn't even know it was on your radar at all. But we ended up watching it together. And she doesn't generally get too into, overly violent kind of stuff or anything like that. But the show, again, you've got the mystery behind it that kept you guessing what was going on at the end of each episode. You want to get back into it. I did really, really like the show, but right up until the end.
But now, having said that, if you were to go back and rewatch, knowing how the show ends, if you were to go back and rewatch it from the beginning, seeing that there were hints along the way, would that have improved? Would it improve the show? Knowing you could watch.
Yeah, but I also think that might open up a lot of plot holes, though, too. I think if I were to go back and look at it, I might be like, well, why is he doing this? Why would he bother, with this kind of thing? I think that there were, again, it was a surprisingly effective show in a lot of ways. And again, the tension in it and, when they're playing the games is incredible. It's really, really well done. But I do think I almost felt it was like a low-level Shyamalan sort of twist. That just doesn't hold up throughout the whole thing. Yeah.
I just want that telephone with that battery that lasted the entire 8 episodes. Did he ever plug this in? How is his battery still working on this phone? I couldn't believe that. I'm like,
with the GPS on,
yeah, for days and weeks. He's like, I gotta get this phone this guy's got. This is great. There's a few plot holes in it here and there that, especially with the cop, I found him sneaking around that building and no one noticed him in that whole entire time, or where he put these bodies of people he stole outfits from. There was a few little plot holes in it but I mean, you have to suspend your disbelief. But the look of it was amazing. It looked so cool and futuristic, and it was very well done.
I too many good shows. the fact that we're forgetting these shows just proves how much quality television there was this year. Like, it's amazing that these things.
It was tough. I wanted to give kind of a shout out to releasing shows weekly again too. I love that. I'm back into that. There were a couple of shows that weren't even the Marvel shows, but White Lotus and Only Murders in the Building on Disney Plus with Steve Martin. Those were both, as far as I'm concerned, like 100% shows. They were so good front to back. Yeah. And I loved like having, it was like, oh, it's Tuesday, we have a new episode of whatever to watch. Like it's nice that you still have the convenience of at the time that you want to watch it, whenever you have a second, you can sit down and watch it, but to actually have something to look forward to, I thought was great.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I just had a conversation with my son who's 17, because he decided that he really wanted to watch Lost because he had heard so much about it and it's on Disney Plus. So we've been binging Lost for the last couple of months, really. We're not speeding through it, but anyway, we just had this exact conversation because he's grown up in a world where shows drop on a Friday and the entire show is there, Stranger Things, or there, and then you could just binge it all, like you said, Neil, you can binge it all in one day if you want to, or that. And I said, when we were growing up, I mean, until like 5 or 6 years ago, we never had that luxury. We always had to wait a week. But the thing with waiting that week is that you had a whole week to think about the episode and talk about it with your friends and theorize about things. And it really allowed you to get deeper into a show, because now that we're rewatching Lost, like when we watched Lost originally, Loop and I, we'd have like weekly meetings at work, and we'd have these talks. But now that I'm going back and rewatching it with him, where we're watching like 3 episodes at a time, it doesn't have the same impact at all. Like, it's just not, you don't have any time to think about what you just watched. You're just moving ahead and you're just discovering things instantly. And there really is something very nice about having to wait a week, as painful as that is, where you get to the end, you're like, no, I want to see more. But at least now you've got time to absorb it all.
I remember the outrage when the credits would show up, on Lost, like at the end. Oh, yeah. Like, no, it's not now.
Yeah, it really is. I like the fact that there's a week between shows now. I mean, it becomes a bigger part of your life, I think, a little bit. Like I have binged shows after they've run, and they don't have the lasting impact, I think, that some of the shows that I'd watched when they first aired, and you wait that week, and it was a part of your schedule was to be able to sit and watch. Lost was 100% one of those shows that we would count down until it's on. Yeah. Exactly, but it's not the same. Well, rewatching it, when you watch like 3-4 episodes at a time, it's just
for sure.
I think that's what made WandaVision so popular this year, because everyone was trying to have their theories on where this was going and what was happening and what was going on in the background and who was running this, and then you'd get more information each week. And then that's what I loved about it. Like, I don't think it would have had the impact if they just dropped all those episodes at the same time. No. Like, you had to wait those weeks.
And the other thing is that everybody, when a show drops all at once, people binge it in the course of like 2 days, and then the buzz stops after about a week. Like, people will talk about it for a week or two, and then that's it, and then it's done. And then there's no talk for the next year until there's.
Squid Game is a perfect example of that. It was on everybody. That's all anybody could talk about for like a month. October was it, and we all dressed up as Squid Game for Halloween, and then we
exactly, and then that was it, and then we forgot about it.
Yeah.
Like we all collectively forgot that it aired, but had it lasted 10 weeks or whatever, 10 weeks, it would still be on our minds, because we would have had a full 10 full weeks of talking about this thing between, so it really, and I don't know if the streaming services are doing that with intention, or if they can make more money by stretching out the length of time. That I don't know what the reasoning is, but
subscriptions.
But I support it.
For sure.
Yeah, I watched Cobra Kai. I binged watched Cobra Kai season 4, and it was just like just gone.
I find that it doesn't sink in.
That was good. Okay, like we need time to digest these things. I think
exactly.
It's too addictive though to resist. It's like, all right, let's watch one more.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for home, and there's not much else to do. But
well, that's it. That's it. And then, so, the timing of this kind of thing is perfect because people are at home. So now it gives you something to actually look forward to rather than like a day of fun. Now we have 10 weeks of knowing that there's cool things coming. Like it's the perfect time to go back to a weekly schedule.
Yeah,
I think too.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go from hits to misses for this year. I'll kick it off with one. I think Lawrence will know that I'm going to pick right off the top. Servant season 2.
Sorry,
if you guys watch Servant at all?
No, well, I'm glad I haven't. It's on the list, but if it's not good,
well, I'll put it this way. Let me put it this way: the first season was really good. The first season was excellent, I thought. And this is M. Night, whatever his name is, Shyamalan. Yeah, I always never pronounce it right, on Apple Plus. The first season is excellent. Second season, just like, I don't know what happened, whether they rushed it. I don't know what they did with the second season, but it was boring, like so boring. Oh, look at Lawrence. Larry's ready to go here. Okay,
Here we go. Here's where the controversy begins. I loved it.
No, come on.
No, I really like the second season. It is now. I have to agree. It's slower. Like it is. There's a lot more exposition and it's slower. But I found that the tension was still there because it was slower. Like I really like it. It just was creepier to me, and I didn't know where it was going. Like not a lot happens. Like I just
like zero. Zero happened in that whole. Because of the pacing of it, it left me like really on edge. Like it left me feeling like there's something going on. Like what? This is way deeper than I feel like there will be a payoff because season 3 I think starts today. Starts pretty soon. I think the problem with it is a lot of it takes. I'm not going to give anything away, but a lot of it takes place in the same apartment, like 3-story walk-up house, and they rarely leave it, to the point where this season they said they're going to leave the house a lot more. That's what they said, and I read a review of the season. I'm like, they have to. They can only go so far. But every episode would end with something where you're like, oh my god, like what is going to happen next episode? And then they never go back to it. They just leave it. Like, and I don't want to talk too much about it if you haven't seen it, but it is interesting. It's like the performances are good and it's interesting, but it's just I don't know where it's going. And the second season left me just like, this could have been 2 episodes. Like literally everything that happened in that season could have been like in 2 episodes.
I think Ben, I'd really like you to watch it.
Yeah, I will. It's definitely on the list.
First season's great. Second season, I just thought it left me empty for sure.
The best thing about this whole series, and it doesn't spoil anything, is that you get to see Ron Weasley as a raging drunk for the whole. Because Rupert Grint has a starring role, and he's quite a drinker. So it's just kind of fun to watch Ron Weasley get all raging drunk.
Worth watching, but I remember texting you almost after every episode, going, "This is terrible." This is like this. I'd be like, "Okay, what's happening? Like,
let's go outside and fight then." Because we gotta fight about this.
All right. It's so dumb. All right, Ben, what's your miss of the year?
I think my biggest miss would be He-Man. I didn't like the new He-Man series. And I was looking forward to it. I've never been like a huge Masters of the Universe guy. I liked it. I watched it as a kid. I didn't live my life by it necessarily, but I know a lot of super fans were really pissed at how it kind of pivoted. I just found it didn't give me the nostalgia that I was hoping for. It didn't give me that kind of feeling of like feeling like a kid again watching these kind of shows. I found that it was like, I don't know, it was just kind of wet for me. I didn't care for it. I never actually finished it. I watched, I think, the first 2 or 3 episodes and was like, that's really, with so much out there to watch, I just decided to go on to something else. And I thought the same way about Tiger King too. I much as I loved the first season of Tiger King, second one, again, I think after the year of them being in the news so much, I was over every one of them. Yeah. I didn't really care to see it. We actually ended up watching the wrong show, thinking it was season 2. There's another, it was almost like a spin-off on Netflix about, I can't even think of his name, the really creepy dude with the blonde hair. That like runs he was the one that like supplied the snakes and everything.
Yeah.
He was like the shawarma or something like that. He had a name that he gave himself, but it was weird because it was like, he's a horrible human being. And like, it was all about sexual assault and that kind of thing that show ended up. And Sarah and I like, where's this lighthearted, weird, like backwards mystery that was in the first season? What is going on? It turns out it wasn't even the right show. When we started season 2, again, it was like, I never really liked Carol all that much. I was a little sick of hearing from Joe Exotic and all this sort of thing. So Jeff Lowe, the thumb, was no fun to watch. So it was one of those, like, lightning did not strike twice on either of those shows for me.
Oh yeah, they're definitely dragging it out. Like they tried to get a second season out of nothing, and Carol Baskin would even do it. So that's a whole element that's taken out of the second season. So I can see what you're saying.
And my excitement for it, how many shows are in production right now? Like Kate McKinnon is Carol Baskin in a show coming up, like a docudrama.
Oh, that's right.
Thing.
Yeah.
They're gonna milk this
I
thing.
don't care. We're all over it, I think, at this point.
Yeah, it was literally like lightning in a barrel, only because it was the start of COVID. Everybody was at home. Everything was locked down. Like literally there was nothing to do. And this really stupid, quirky thing happened and just became the talk of the town. Like if it had come out a year earlier before COVID, I think it would have just been another documentary on Netflix.
Come and gone.
It wouldn't have had nearly the buzz. It was literally, so I don't think that they can capture that same.
Well, it's sequelitis, right? In a lot of ways, you try to get. It was such a surprise to everybody. It was a delightful surprise at first, but the surprise is worn off, and now you're just like, oh, here we go again. You know, it's not. It doesn't have that charm.
I finished watching He-Man. By the way, I watched the whole series. First half wasn't quite as good as I'd hoped. Second half was actually quite good.
Does it pick up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the second half's a lot better. I felt like Neil had probably seen it.
Yeah, I was going to ask back to Ben if he'd seen both parts. Because I presume you were talking about the Kevin Smith produced one and not the other one. There were 2 He-Man shows on Netflix in 2021, which is crazy.
No, yeah, it was the Kevin Smith is the one that I watched.
Right. So it had I thought that, oh man, my opinion is all over the place on that He-Man show, but I agree with Loop. The second part is much better, and I do like the fact that we get to find out more about Evil Lynn. Like they go into a bit of her origin, you know, if you care, right? I mean, like I grew up a He-Man fan when I was a kid. I haven't liked He-Man since I was like 6, you know, but I just thought, hey, great, you know, this is wonderful nostalgia, and I never knew this about this character or that character, so that was cool. And you know, what happens when someone else calls down the power, you know, and all that. So interesting things in part 2. Part 1, there just wasn't enough He-Man and Skeletor, and I think that just irritated people, and they thought it was pushing just female characters. Only female characters will be, you know, it's like no, but they kind of balance it out in part 2. But it was okay though. I'm not going to say it was great.
It was also a classic case of like where people only saw the first part and they were all in outrage of it, but hadn't seen where it was going to go. Like they hadn't seen the full story, and when you see the second half of the story, it really brings it all together, and it was actually quite good. Second half was I quite enjoyed the second half.
A lot more He-Man. Or at least Prince Adam, anyway, in part 2. Good design.
All right, Neil, you're up next.
Oh, all right. So misses for TV shows. Well, I was going to talk a little bit of trash about certain episodes of Loki that I thought were kind of like, what? You know, like, why are they going back and forth here? And of course, it all turned out to just be messing with time in the end and splintering, you know, multiverse and all that stuff, all these timelines. So Loki was okay. I wouldn't put it last, you know, out of all the shows I watched. I'd probably say Lock and Key kind of bored me because I got into that show based on the comic. If you guys know Lock and Key, I think it's on Netflix, and it's a show about all these magical keys, you know, that allow people to do extraordinary things. They can become super strong, or they can become invisible, pass through walls. They can become a ghost. They can do all sorts of things. They can, you know, manipulate people and whatnot. So there are these dangerous keys, but they're not really doing a lot with them in season 2. They're just kind of reminding people that, hey, these things exist and look what they can do. And it's like, we already know that from season 1. Yeah. So the only interesting thing about Lock and Key, which is it's actually in the thumbnail little, you know, trailer that, you know, when they play a little bit of the show in the thumbnail of the Netflix, it's this giant spider. Oh, because they've shrunk themselves. You can shrink yourself too with these keys. And so there's this giant spider, which is just a normal spider, but it's giant now because they're small. And it's like, yeah, we've seen this before too. So it's just really boring. I thought Lock and Key was just not that interesting. Yeah.
Can I just say something about Loki for a second? I'm a little worried, and this will be trending into 2022, but I'm a little worried about the multiverse with Marvel, only because it's kind of a big concept, and I think like the average Marvel fan is going to be a little confused by it. Like, if you haven't read any comics or haven't, like, it just seems like it's just a little too, when you start going into time travel or multiverses, it adds an extra layer of like kind of confusion, I think, to people. And I'm just a little worried about where it's heading with Marvel, but that's just a little side note. I'm just not sure. Well, we'll see.
A little
think
too
you handle it
goes,
well.
right? So it's,
Yeah.
if anything can happen, if any character can die here and there, then the character's death doesn't really have much weight. If it's, oh, Spider-Man from Earth 3 is dead. Oh, well, like it doesn't matter because, it's just, so I don't know. I agree with you, Loop. I think it's dangerous. And the same with what DC's doing with the Flash, it's all very dangerous, I think, incorporating, different multiple universes just to please fans of different versions of beloved characters.
I think that Marvel's handling it quite well, though, because it's similar to Star Wars, where you can watch the movies and that's all you need. And you're not lost if you just watch the movies. You don't dive into the novels and the comic books and all that sort of thing. I think Marvel does a good job with the film universe is still its bread and butter. And it's like the main part of everything. You don't necessarily have to watch all the television shows to know what's going on. It buffers it a little bit, and it explains a lot of it, and it sometimes takes its time to make sure that you fully know what's going on. Like it can drag a little bit in the TV programs, but I think that Marvel is doing a good job, and I think you could like DC. We'll see how they do with it, because as they've had a bit of a track record of trying to emulate what Marvel's doing and not working out nearly as well.
Yeah. See, I think that's why I liked Hawkeye so much, because to me, Hawkeye was almost like a throwback to the early Iron Man type Marvel movies. Like it was just pure action, but a lot of comedy, a straightforward story. There was nothing really supernatural happening. It was pure fun. Like I just, Loki, I really enjoyed Loki, but Loki took a lot of thought, like a lot of like going back and now what is the TVA doing here, and why did how have they, and but Hawkeye was just like pure entertainment. It was like old fashioned Iron Man type movie, like storytelling from
back
Marvel.
to basics, right? Yeah.
It was the most grounded of all the series, of all the Marvel shows. It was definitely the most grounded, the most realistic, of course. Trick arrows, well, that could happen. It's not so fantastical.
I'll say, like, being a Marvel fan and reading comics for a long time, I will take the street level heroes over the supernatural heroes any day of the week. Like I love like your Daredevils and your Moon Knights and your like those guys that are from the like protecting the streets of New York. Like it just has a bit more ground. Like I love the bros. Like I love that in the Hawkeye series. Like I love that's just this group of tracksuit like gangsters. You know what I mean? That's who you're going up against. You're not going up against someone who can like snap their fingers and get rid of the universe in a second. Like I love that whole aspect of it. But it was I don't know. I'm just a huge Hawkeye fan, a huge street level person. So it's just better storytelling. You can do more with it and not have to rely on something.
Like it's just more relatable. Like you understand Hawkeye. He's a normal guy. He just has a talent for archery. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot more relatable, and that's where my love of DC came from, and my love of Batman, because Batman, I mean, he's obviously got some villains who are a little supernatural as well, but for the most part, like Catwoman and these people are grounded. Like they're just regular humans without special powers. They're just smart and they have the funds to build the worlds that they can inhabit, but they they're just like us. Like we could potentially be Bruce Wayne if we won a lottery or something.
and got in shape, and
exactly, and we're way smarter than we are.
That's true.
So really we couldn't be Bruce Wayne at all.
Not really. Larry, you're the last one up for misses and shows.
Okay, so one of the saddest misses for me this year, because I was so excited about this show, was Don Mancini's reboot of Chucky. I was really excited to watch. I'm a huge fan of Chucky. I love the Chucky movies, specifically the first 3, but I really like Chucky. And I was like, okay, Don Mancini is back. Like he's in control of this thing again. He's going to do it right. This is going to be so exciting. And I think I made it 3 episodes in, and each one of those episodes just, to me, got stupider and stupider. And I was like, what have they done? Like Chucky becomes like a sidekick for this. I mean, I know I haven't finished the series, so I don't know where it went. But it seemed like Chucky was a sidekick to this kid who was being bullied, and he was just out of sorts or whatever. And so he was like mentoring this kid. But the worst moment, and I mean, this spoils a little bit of something, but one of the first kills that Chucky makes in like episode 2, I think, or something, maybe it was even episode 1, is he's like taking down this guy's father, and he kills him by vomiting all over him. Like that's not a thing Chucky does. He doesn't eat. He's got nothing in him to come out. But he like, and he vomited this guy to death. I'm like, okay, I mean, this is a massive stretch way too early in the season. I'm just like, this is not the Chucky that, like, Chucky is like Batman. He's grounded. He uses a knife, and he, doesn't have supernatural powers of like regurgitation. That's not a thing that Chucky has.
The Chucky Odyssey is so nuts to me. Like I agree. Like, the first 3 were great. The next 2 were so crazy. Like, they were just nuts. But then it kind of went back. I thought that 6 and 7 were fantastic.
They were, yes.
Smaller kind of scale movies.
Yeah.
And then the reboot was what it was. It was fine. It wasn't anything super special. But yeah, I agree. This one just it didn't really interest me all that much as I do like Chucky stuff. And I really was surprised at how well they were able to bring back the movie series.
Yeah.
This one it didn't seem like it was worth a lot of time.
I don't know. I was so disappointed. I was really excited about seeing this. I really thought that it was going to be nostalgia. It was going to feel like the old times, but it doesn't. I mean, the first few episodes aren't even entirely about Chucky. They're about these kids who are having high school angsty issues and things. And then Chucky comes to the rescue, and I don't know.
Well, I can defend Chucky slightly because I think the whole thing.
Because sorry,
not for everyone by any stretch, of course. But you had to have seen like Cult of Chucky, which I don't know, was that part 6? I don't even know. But it's a sequel series to the films, so you do have to know a little bit about what's going on with like Jennifer Tilly and whatnot. The fact that Brad Dourif came back, to do his voice for Chucky the series is fantastic. I thought the puppeteering was excellent.
Yeah.
One of the puppeteers is a guy named Gord Robertson, who I met a long time ago. Shout out to Gord. What's up, Gord? He's a former Jim Henson guy. And no, they do a really good job with everything except for, I guess, like the first couple episodes. I agree. So this is kind of like a He-Man thing almost, where I feel like, the first part is not good, but then it does get better. So, but if the first part puts you off, you're not going to watch the rest. Okay, you got other things to watch. So I understand, but it's not a bad show for what it is, and it gets better and better and better when they start bringing back, like you were talking about, like nostalgia. They actually get into the nostalgia thing. The original kid, the actor Andy, the guy that played Andy, with Vincent something, I think, he's back, and he's on Chucky, and so is Jennifer Tilly, and so is what's his name's daughter, Brad Dourif's daughter, plays a woman who's been possessed by Chucky too. So they changed the rules, like you're talking about vomiting and stuff like that. That's weird, I agree, but they changed certain things where it's like, well, now Chucky can just possess anybody, and there could be like multiple Chuckies. So I thought that was a cool idea. At least.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
I'm not saying it's show of the year, but it was fun.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a second chance, because that was the other thing. Brad Dourif being back was cool. Like, if they had changed the voice, I wouldn't have even gone back to the show. But the fact that they were bringing all these people, that's why I had such a high bar for this show, because everybody was back on board. And okay, well, maybe I'll give it maybe I will try it again, and
it's better than the reboot, at least. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey, I made it through. I Know What You Did Last Summer, so I think I could make it through Chucky if I made it through that. So it's I don't know why I watched that, but I just did. All right. So I'll move on now. We'll go to movies, hits and movies, and we'll start with Ben.
Oh, buddy, this is a tough one.
Okay.
There are some huge ones. So, I mean, I think hits, I would like to think of like surprising hits. I mean, I expected to love Spider-Man as much as I did, and I truly did. I think that's probably my favorite movie of the year. I was able to see it a couple of times before theater shut down again. So that is up there. Godzilla versus Kong was a surprisingly, like, I was really excited for it, and I just kind of shamelessly love the Godzilla movies, and I loved it. I wanted to watch big giant monkey punch big giant lizard, and that's exactly what I got to see, and I was thrilled with that. But as far as surprises, I think the Green Knight, I really like the Green Knight. That, you know, to be a little artsier than Godzilla, I guess. I was expecting a horror movie. I was expecting like you know, the classic A24 kind of horror film, and while it's not, I wouldn't classify it as a horror movie. It still had that intensity. It made me think a lot more than I thought it was going to, as generally those A24 movies do. I think that was probably my biggest surprise hit.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Larry next on this, because you may have similar, or
well, I do. Like, Green Knight for me was probably my top movie of the year. I loved this thing. I just thought, first of all, I've decided that A24 is my new favorite studio. I will probably go see anything that A24 releases. It's just, I don't think that I haven't seen anything from that studio that I haven't liked. Now, I haven't seen everything that they've released, but everything that I've seen from them has been spectacular. The one that I am really most excited to see next is called Lamb, and it's it's on the long list for the Oscar Best Foreign Film. I don't even know how you classify this movie, but anyway, I'll talk about it when I see it. But yeah, Green Knight was a total surprise hit for me, because it just, there was so much depth, and Dev Patel is, I think, one of the more underrated actors out there.
He's great.
He is just amazing. Like, he's from the time of oh my gosh, now I just
Slumdog Millionaire.
Yes, Slumdog Millionaire. He's just been great. Like, he is a really strong actor, and I totally sympathized with this character all the way through. So yeah, I actually saw that one twice in the theater, because I was so excited about that one. So that was right up there. But as far as geeky stuff, I mean, there was so much. The Shangchi, the Dune, the Spider-Man, and they were all good. But I have to go with Ghostbusters Afterlife as my biggest hit, because again, in this time of weirdness in the world where things are locked down and things aren't progressing, nostalgia is so important, I feel. And the Ghostbusters Afterlife to me brought the nostalgia. Like, it was a new story with new kids and new characters, but the callbacks to the originals and the honoring of yes, was so well done. Like, they just, you could tell that there was a lot of love in this movie, and I was not expecting to be as emotionally impacted by the way this played out as I was. So I have to say that it did a good job. It's
funny you say you weren't expecting to be as emotionally impacted. I fully was. Like, I have loved Ghostbusters as long as I've been alive. I'm a huge Bill Murray fan and Ghostbusters and everything. And I was like, I could feel the tears welling up throughout the whole movie. Like, I just knew that it was going to have a great payoff. I just found there were a couple of issues that I had with it. Overall, I loved it and I was thrilled with it, and I thought it was a great job. I did not like the mom. I thought she was a terrible mom, and like, just like her character.
Oh, really? Okay.
I just found, like, it's not even that she's absent when she needs to be so these kids can go on their adventures. She's just like aloof. She doesn't care about her kids. Like, the kid, like, she'll talk about, you know, this project. She's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's not important. Like, it's just, she was really like off-putting, I found, in so much of it. But that said, you got Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd makes up for everything. He was so good. He was phenomenal.
I found the mom in it. I think she was aloof because she was so mad at her dad, and her daughter was so much like him. I think there was just no connection there, and I think she just was so angry at the world through her whole life, not understanding why her dad would like sort of like abandon her. I think that's sort of where her she's just coming from. But I don't know. I liked her. I didn't find
there was a big payoff for that storyline. Like, she just, you know, she becomes Sigourney Weaver's character at the end, and then basically pops back, and it's fine. Like, it was just, I thought it was, I don't know, but I mean, still, that it was definitely on the list. I knew somebody was going to bring it up.
Afterlife is to Ghostbusters as The Force Awakens is to Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's true. The The one other thing I want to mention about Ghostbusters is the one thing that could have killed that movie but didn't were the mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Men.
Agreed.
That could potentially have gone completely sideways. Like they could have been really obnoxious, and really goofy and taken you out of the movie. But what they did with them, it was almost like a Gremlins callback. Like they were so quirky and like so happy to kill each other and so happy to die in weird ways. It was like a throwback to those 80s sort of like Gremlins. Like it was or Gremlins 2 even. Like it just added another level that I wasn't expecting, because I was so worried about it. Again, it was like in Force Awakens with the Porgs. I was really worried about the Porgs, but then they're okay. I can handle them. But yeah, those
wasn't just merchandising. Yeah,
those little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men were great.
Merchandising.
Yeah, I thought they did well. So there it is.
Alrighty. I've got my favorite of the year, and it was just one that it's a Marvel movie that I was sort of a surprise for me, was Shangshi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I wasn't like, it's hard when they bring in a character that nobody knows. And even I read Marvel and I hardly like, I know the character, but I don't know him because he's not really attached to any teams like the Avengers or anything like that. So he's sort of a mystery character. To me, he's a fallback of the 70s comics or the early 80s comics, right? Like I didn't really know him that well, but so good. I thought it was just like start to finish action packed. It was interesting. I thought the characters were great. I was so fun. It's just fun. It was a fun movie start to finish. It was kind of what I would hope, even though I did like this movie, Snake Eyes. I was hoping Snake Eyes would be as good as it, but it obviously don't have the budget. I will throw out for Snake Eyes. I did like Snake Eyes a lot actually, but it was, but Shang-Chi was just, I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was really good. And I saw it twice. I thought it was so good. Like visually, like the action scenes were awesome. Like, and then I even watched on Disney Plus, like it had like the breakdown of like the kind of behind the scenes of the movie, like how they did all the stunts and everything. And it was just really interesting how it was all put together, like that bus scene and stuff. It was very, very cool. So I give it, I put it on one of the top movies of the year for sure for me. So and Snake Eyes.
Shang-Chi and Disney Plus. Another, because I completely agree. I think Shang-Chi made it into my top 7. I haven't quite figured out this top thing yet. But anyway,
my top 8.5 of the year.
I love that movie. But what was cool too when it came to Disney Plus is that it's the first movie probably ever that was presented in IMAX format on a streaming service. So I don't know if you noticed this or not, but when you stream it on Apple TV, I don't know if this is an Apple TV 4K thing or if it's all Apple TV, but it actually says IMAX presentation. Like, so
oh wow,
they've taken the full IMAX full screen and the 70 millimeter quality, and that's how they're presenting it. So I thought that was a bonus too. That was pretty cool. So anyway,
yeah, that's awesome. Neil, what's your big hit of the year movie wise?
My hit of the year is the movie that I went to go see twice in the theater, despite its almost 3 hours length, and that would be Dune Part 1.
Oh wow!
So spoiler alert: if anyone hasn't seen Dune, have all 3 of you lads seen it?
Yeah.
Or at least read the book or whatever, like if you know what's going to happen. If you read the book, you know what's going to happen. It does end a bit abruptly. It is basically The Empire Strikes Back here. It's going to end on that kind of that. Almost not quite the same kind of cliffhanger, but still kind of a thing where it's like now, Paul and Lady Jessica, they're on the comeback trail and they're going to avenge Leto and everything and retake, the land and the spice for their family. Dune is brilliant. It makes me, it was basically a film class when I watched this movie. Whenever I watch any of Denis Villeneuve's movies, Blade Runner 2049 or The Arrival or whatever, if I watch any of these movies, whether you like it or not that much, you got to admit the directing is just amazing. The choice in shots and the decisions in camera movements that they make, that he makes and his cinematographer makes in these movies, unbelievable. And Dune is no exception. I've never seen sand shot so well. Sandworms, you hate them, right? I hate them myself. But there's lots of fun jokes in there. But what's interesting is that one thing that fascinated me about the movie, and it is such a sprawling masterpiece of a movie, but it's not for everybody. I saw it the second time I saw it in the theater. There were these chatting Cathys, these kids that were in the front row on their phones going, blah, 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 this movie's boring, blah, blah, blah. I know that's a side comment to my hit of the year here, but I just gotta say, please don't go see Dune if you're gonna chat throughout the movie, clearly. So that kind of hurt it a little bit, but I realized that obviously it's not for everyone. It's not going to be on everyone's number one favorite movie of the year, maybe because of that, because it doesn't hold the ADD of some people, I guess. I don't know. It just seems like there are some slow building, world building moments in this movie where you do have to have that kind of patience. And it's funny for me because I remember the David Lynch film so well, and as not great as that movie is, that's a nice try but no cigar kind of attempt at the adaptation of the novel. It's still, the movie moves along at a nice pace. You got to admit, the original Dune '84, it moves along. This movie moves much slower. So for me, it was kind of like, okay, all right. It's like, get to the action. No, I want more drama. It's like, I was almost conflicted, but the second time I saw it, I really did appreciate more and more and more of the directorial choices, the execution of the movie, the music, the acting, everything is top notch. So definitely film of the year. I really loved Shangshi and the Legend of the Ten Rings as well. So thank you, Luke, for mentioning that one, because that was a killer movie. And I didn't get to go to the theater for that one. I saw it on Disney Plus when it came out there. So I was kind of thankful for that too. So there were some good films. Ghostbusters Afterlife, like I said, it was a reunion special. It was very, but it was good. It did the nostalgia thing right.
Yeah.
I'm afraid though that the nostalgia thing is so popular now that we're going to get other franchises, beloved things that we loved growing up, and they're going to bring everybody back, Cobra Kai style or whatnot. And unlike Cobra Kai, they're going to do a bad job. I'm afraid they're going to do a bad job with bringing back all these characters and just like, okay, well, nostalgia is everything, guys. So let's just bring back everything. And, some of it's going to be crap. So I'm a little worried about that. But anyway, Dune Part 1, that's my, for sure.
I'm worried about when they do Mama's Family and they try to bring it back. It's I'm not going to be happy with that, but we'll see what happens. When they throw it together. But so let's go to Mrs.
Academy or something.
Exactly. Let's go to Mrs. and movies. Neil, we're going to start with you.
Okay, Mrs. and movies. Didn't see too many bad ones, but because people say no, it's bad, don't see it. I heard bad things about The Matrix, Resurrections, but I can't say because I haven't seen it, so I can't comment that. I can say that I saw a movie on Netflix that was that had a really wonderful cast, pretty much an all-female cast almost, and it's a movie called Gunpowder Milkshake, and there's a lot of beautiful, wonderful actresses in this movie, or actors in this movie. Karen Gillan, Carla Gugino. I mean, there's wonderful, wonderful actresses here. But the movie's horrible. It is horrible. No. Lena Headey's in it too. It's horrible movie. I try to watch it. It's about this girl, Karen Gillan, who grows up, her mom leaves her because her mom's an assassin, and there's all these evil men that are out to get them. Paul Giamatti is this guy you think is on their side. He's kind of like the Bosley to their Charlie's Angels, but no, he's a complete scumbag as well. I just thought the movie itself was bad, even without, any kind of agenda, conspiracy, or anything like that. It was just a bad revenge movie, a bad assassin movie. Like the fight scenes were ridiculously slow, like bad Matrix, kind of stuff. Yeah. It was just a horrible movie. I love the actors, but Gunpowder Milkshake, avoid.
Noted. Duly noted. Yes. Okay, my miss this year was, and I love this horror series, but this movie was terrible. It was Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It. I don't know if you guys saw that last Conjuring movie.
I was really excited to do this. Bad? No, okay, this is interesting.
Every time I watch a Conjuring movie, I always get back into the Ed and Lorraine Warren sort of mythology, and I start looking them up again to find out all the cases they had and whatnot. But this one, it doesn't involve a haunted house, and that's my first problem with this one. It's based on a case. It was the very first case where they someone used demonic possession as a in court and saying that I was possessed. So it's a real case there it's based on. But the problem is there's not enough there to make a movie from, and they're trying to add this woman that does witchcraft and is trying to possess them and put curses on them. And it just didn't have. The best part about the Conjuring movies is that it's a haunted house and Ed and Lorraine come in and try to fix it. And this one wasn't like that. And it failed. It was just a fail for me. I just didn't like it at all.
I saw from the trailers, it looked like it was almost like a courtroom drama. Is there a lot of court?
There's barely any courtroom in it either. That was the weird thing, because it's based on a court. There's 2 scenes in it. The rest of it's this woman doing this witchcraft and trying to put curses on everybody. And I'm like, and there's a demon involved in it as well that jumps from person to person. And I just thumbs down. It just the beauty of those movies is the haunted house thing. Like, do Amityville, do whatever the other haunted houses they did, but it was too much about them and not enough about the haunted house and what they're trying to solve in it. So it wasn't well executed at all. Like, it just wasn't that great. But I do love those guys as them, but I just no.
I feel like it would be cool to see a Conjuring movie based on the Amityville incident, because weren't the Warrens involved in that?
They were. I don't know if they were actually in the case, like if they actually investigated it or they came in later to kind of give their 2 cents on it. I'm not sure.
They may have come in later. I just think that would be a cool, like, if they're going to reboot Amityville, reboot it as part of the Conjuring universe, like to show the investigation side rather than, like, we've already seen the haunting, like we saw it in the Amityville, but to see like an investigator come in and actually try to figure out what's happening, that would be a cool take on the side.
One sheet that.
Yep, I'm going to. I'll get my elevator pitch ready.
The one thing with if you really dig into and Lorraine Lauren too, they're not quite as like cool as they are in the movies. I just want to mention that if you've looked into them at all, like they're not quite that cool. There's a lot of kind of weird things going on behind the scenes with them that like is never mentioned in the movies. But it's anyways, I just was like, no, I like Conjuring. This one is off my list. It's not that great. All right, Ben, what didn't you like this year?
The more I think about it, the more I dislike it. The Eternals. I could barely sit through that movie. I was antsy throughout the whole thing, waiting for something interesting or fun or remotely worth. I feel bad saying that, but the more I think about it, the more I realize, like, I felt I wasted my time going to the movies to see that. I mean, there's such a fringe group of characters. I didn't know much about them ahead of time. I know obviously what they were getting at. I was most excited by Harry Styles at the very end, but like for 30 seconds of a movie, I couldn't get into it. And I was surprised at the negative reviews when they first came out until I saw the movie and I was like, oh, I totally get it. It's just not the caliber of the other Marvel movies that we get. And as much as I appreciate an art house Marvel movie, I just don't think it worked for me. Again,
being a comic lover, they're very 70s characters. Like they were kind of created around in the 60s, I think 70s they were created. And they were never that interesting in the comics. So I don't know why, of all, like they could have done the Inhumans. There were so many different groups they could have done. I don't know why they picked them. I still don't know why. But
the only thing that I can assume is that they are going to be important when it comes to the multiverse. Like they're just introducing these characters because there's something more. But it was like a 2.5 hour long movie that literally could have been a 90-minute movie and actually probably been pretty good. Because there was so much backstory that didn't go anywhere that I just was like, it didn't, even in 2.5 hours, they didn't give you enough time to care about any of the individual people. Like I literally did not connect with a single character in that 2.5 hours. I thought maybe one of them I'd be like rooting for or excited to see more of. And like if you were to ask me now to name the group or I couldn't. I don't remember. Like it's
like naming someone from Maroon 5 other than the lead singer. Yes. Like you just can't do it. Like it's like then Adam Levine. That's it. Oh, you can name.
Yeah, and it was such a shame because Chloe, what's her last name? Chloe Chow. Like Nomadland, I thought was phenomenal. Like I thought I was really intrigued by that, and I got emotionally connected to the characters in this movie, and I thought, okay, she really knows how to build character and how to tell a story with simplicity. Like because that was such a simple story, and it was very nicely told, and the pacing was good. And then it's almost like, just because you can make a movie doesn't mean you can make a Marvel movie. Because they're so different. Like the budgets are ridiculous, and it's just a different monster. And I just don't know that I think she's better at telling the simple story. And it was way too complicated. There's way too much going on that was totally superfluous. Like it just didn't make any sense.
Would this been better as a series than a movie?
Yes.
If someone made this as a series, I almost think it would have. There's just so much going on in it. I think you need that time to sort of develop things a little further. But again, I'm like, I enjoyed it enough. Like I thought there was parts I liked about it, but then the more I thought about it after I left, I was like, it's as a whole, it left me empty. Like I was like, it didn't add anything other than like the possible Black Knight, which I liked from the comics, but I'd rather seen him in the movie as the Black Knight than the rest of it. But
well, that's the thing. And the only thing that I'm holding on to with this movie is that Marvel is so good at knowing their path. Do you know what I mean? Like they know what is coming. They know like probably 10 years from now what their storylines are going to be. So there was a reason to do this. Like somebody in the Marvel Studios said, yes, this is the story we need to tell because it's going to be important down the road. It's like Black Widow. Black Widow was an okay movie, but it didn't need to be done. Like it wasn't, there was nothing, it didn't move the story along at all. However, it introduced Yelena, and built her character, and now she's part of Hawkeye's story, and she'll obviously continue. So it was really a Yelena movie. So
it's crazy to me to think that they're dropping $100 million in a movie to set up something else. Like that's not. Yeah, I think that their confidence was not high with the Eternals, especially. I think Black Widow was an odd bit of timing more than anything. Yeah. But I think with the Eternals, like I think you're right that it's setting up things that are going to be more important and hopefully more fun in the future.
the thing is though with the Eternals is like 3 movies from now they're going to show up in someone else's movie and we're all going to be, oh my god, it's the Eternals! Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how they set it up. Like right now we're like whatever, but it's like coming up. I bet you 10 to 1 we're going to freak out when they show up in somebody's movie in a cut scene at the end or something. Like it's like,
and so that's the thing. Yeah, I feel like it maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's the kind of movie that after, this phase of the Marvel, universe is complete, we can go back and say, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand why they had to set them up like this, why some of their flashback stories were important. It's like the Budapest story with Hawkeye and Black Widow. They kept talking about it, and then there was some reveal in the Black Widow movie. I feel like maybe some of those backstories will come into play down the road. That's all I can hope. I mean, all I can think is that there's a reason for it. Like I have complete faith in Marvel because they really have not in the 12 years. How long? When did the first Iron Man come out?
06.
06. Yeah. So I mean, they in all of this time they haven't really tripped and fallen at all. I mean, it's really rare, and to have something like this in such a big scale fail so miserably, I feel like maybe we're all collectively missing something.
I don't know. Who knows?
That's my hope.
Oh wait,
Too much,
I was wrong.
Oversaturation. Just oversaturation of Marvel products and heroes, and too many to keep track of now. So
that's part of it too.
Well, I said almost every actor in Hollywood's now playing a Marvel character. Like who's left? Like who's left to play any of these guys? Like they're
I saw a list online of actors who play in both DC and Marvel. It's a huge list of people who are in DC and Marvel projects. And then you get like Sean Gunn, who's in almost everything.
Well, that's all there is nowadays. Like, I mean, if you're gonna make a movie, it's probably gonna be a Marvel or a Sony, Marvel.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's where the money is. That's where the agents are gonna start sending their people.
Yeah. All right, Larry, you're up next for Mrs. in movies.
That was it.
Okay, good. All right.
Eternals was it. I was just following Ben on that one. Yeah, Eternals was it.
All right, we're stamping Eternals. Big miss this year.
Big miss this year.
But still actually not bad.
What?
No. All right, so let's go hits with other. We'll start with Larry on this one.
Well, I think so. I was thinking back to like what made 2001 really exciting for me, and it's actually, I think I may have had the same thing in our 2020 review. It was just the return to movie theaters. Like it was just getting back. And this year, right near the end of the year, when numbers were low, they fully opened movie theaters, so you could finally go to see a movie in an IMAX theater that was full capacity, so that you were in there with 300 people who were cheering when Spider-Man did something, or you know what I mean? And really that is such a difference. Like, I mean, movie theaters were open for the whole year, but there were limitations. So a lot of the movies I saw, I'd see with like 4 other people in the theater, and it was quiet, and it was, I might as well have been watching it at home, other than it was big screen and you could eat popcorn. But there really is something about being with 400 people who are like-minded, who are excited and cheering, and it's just, there's nothing like it. So for me, it was a nice return. Unfortunately, as of the date of this recording, we're back into a situation where our theaters are closed, and so we don't have that. So I tried my best to fit in like all the movies I wanted to see, and I managed to. I got to see Matrix and Dune, and like all of the there wasn't anything left on the table for me when they closed the theater, and I did that on purpose because I knew it was coming. So I'm excited for 2022 for the theaters to open up again, because there's a lot of big stuff, and I want to share that with people. So yeah. That was my big hit of 2021.
when I saw Spider-Man, that was the first movie I'd been to in a long time where people were cheering.
Yeah.
Like at every little thing that was going on, and freaking, like people were freaking out. Like I went one of the first nights it was open, and people were freaking out over every reveal, everything going on in it, and it was fun. Like I was like, this is like this is why theaters exist right here. And I'm totally with you. I'm glad they came back this year.
Yeah, that was a big one.
All right, so Ben, hits with other.
I gotta give it to Super Mario. I have had such fun in 2021 with Super Mario. My son is going to be 8 in a couple of weeks, but he is just obsessed with all sorts of Super Mario games. I got Paper Mario for Christmas, which is a 2020 game, but it's still, I've been playing it in 2021. But like we've gone back, and even there was Super Mario 3D World was a game that came out in the summer, I think. And we picked it up. I didn't even realize it was a brand new game when we got it. And it's just so fun. It's still as simple as ever, but then extremely complicated. And it goes from, you can play it and have a casual good time, or you can drive yourself absolutely crazy over some of the levels and some puzzles and stuff like that. And I just, in another year where it's been, we're not going out and hanging out with our friends nearly as much as we normally do. It's been a lot of home time. It's been a lot of time in front of the screens and on the Switch. And it's just, Mario has taken up a large part of my 2021, and I loved it.
That's awesome. One of my hits this year was the trend of animation, like the more animation shows. Like I liked He-Man. I thought it was good. Transformers, but also Invincible. We haven't talked about Invincible yet. I don't know if you, and it was so like, I know everyone likes to do like, have real people play these characters from these comics, but that storytelling in Invincible was as good as anything I had seen. And I'd like to see more comics turned into like into animation and be told that way, because it just, so much more you could do, and the voice acting was amazing in it. And I just, Invincible was just like so good. I'd like to see more of that happen, but I'm glad that was able to come out this year. And I first saw it, I was like, I didn't really know much about it, and I started watching it, and I was hooked on Invincible, and I binged that thing like nobody's business. But I like the fact that these things are coming out, and I know 2022 there's supposed to be a GI Joe series, which I'm a little scared about, but but I'm waiting for that stuff too. But more of the animation, man, more of that. I bring it on. Like I love it. It's awesome.
I just want to add one quick thing onto that. So one other thing I did in 2022, right at the end of the year, speaking of animation, my son's girlfriend is a massive anime fan, like huge, like subscribes to Crunchyroll, and huge. And so,
my kids too.
Yeah, so she's gotten my son into it, and this is something when Loop and I have gone to like Fan Expo and Comic Cons, we always talk about the fact that there's anime stuff everywhere, like so much stuff, and it's really cool, but it's so overwhelming, and it looks really neat, but how do you even get involved in it? Like, where do you start with anime? Because there's just so much, and it all is so confusing. So anyway, the one that they are really into is called Demon Slayer. I don't know if you guys have heard of this one. This one is,
I think my kids might watch it.
It is massive. Like, it is literally a phenomenon in Japan. They did a survey of Japanese the population of Japan, and 97.8% of the population of Japan knows of this show. Like, literally, I mean, millions, even if they don't watch it regularly, everybody knows this thing. And it was brand new to me at the end of the year. I had never heard of it. So anyway, I started binging it because there's only one season out right now, or a season and then part of season 2. And there's a movie, feature length movie that came out in 2021. So I can technically fit that I haven't watched yet. But the movie has like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes and 98% user, so it's huge. Anyway, it's really, really good. I would highly recommend if you're interested in anime in the least, Demon Slayer. It's on Netflix. It's a mix of sort of hand-drawn and CG, so it feels like 3-dimensional, but it's super cool, and it's all sort of samurai based, and it's a really cool thing too. So that just goes along with your animation side.
Is it one of your top 11 animated shows of the year?
It would probably be in my top 1.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay. Perfect.
Excellent. The only one I watched.
So dumb. All right, Neil, over to you.
All right. So just best anything from 2021?
Yeah, best anything.
Other than we've already spoken about, of course. Well, I mean, 2021 was such a rough year, especially from April to July or so, right? In here in Ontario anyway. I'm just kind of like Larry, I just want to feel kind of thankful for the vacations that I got because last year I had a financial job for a while. It was full time, and a lot of people quit because of the pandemic or because it just wasn't a great company, whatever the case. And so I was left doing like these 12-hour shifts all the time, and I was like, oh great, I'm making lots of money, but I have no life and I have nothing, and there's nothing to do, and a bunch of unfortunate things certainly happened last year, and just so many things that bummed me out. So I was so relieved when I actually got to have pretty much the perfect Christmas last month. I'm just going to be grateful for that, because the year before that was virtual Christmas, right? So
that's right. Yeah.
Like what we're doing now, which is perfectly fine. It's great to see you guys, but I think we all miss the in-person touch, especially when it comes to your family and Christmas. And I didn't get to see my family in Christmas 2020. So 2021, we spent the whole year planning this, and we wound up staying at my sister and brother-in-law's place in Belleville. And I just happened to get I left that old crappy financial job. I'm a cameraman now with the Raceway, as you may know, but so I have a job that allows me the time to go see them, and also just the fact that it was smooth sailing. There was no traffic, there was no problems, there was no nothing, nobody, luckily, God bless it and everything, like nobody was sick, nobody was nothing, everyone was smart and cool, and it was perfect. It was perfection. It was like one of those Christmases from the 80s that you grew up in. I'm so lucky, and I had a perfect Christmas because I was a kid and I got toys. But this year it was about just people and just being around the closest people to me, and I was just so thankful for that. So I'm just thankful that things aren't worse, I guess. Things were pretty good at portions of time during what was a really rough year.
So what misses did you guys have last year? I'll start this one off. This Lawrence recommended this book to me, and it's this one here. It's called Light of the Jedi. It's like this High Republic section of Star Wars they're doing now, which takes place like 1,000 years before everything that's going on. This book was terrible. It was like, I've never read a book that I was so disinterested in, like from top to finish. And then I found out you didn't even read the book.
I did. I only have 150 pages left. That's about half.
That's half the book.
We've all come to realize that I don't read. I like to think I read, so I buy books.
This was Larry at the beginning of the year. Oh, this book is awesome. Oh my God, this is so good. And I'm like, all right, I'll get it. This sounds great. And I was like, this is my thing with Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, but move ahead with it. Like, I want to see what's going on now. Like, I want to see where we're heading to. Not this. I hate when they keep going back to the past all the time. And there's nothing happening in this. Like, there's nothing really, like, the Jedi dominate everything. Like, there's like, they're too powerful. Like, there's nothing really in it that's interesting. There's no characters to really grasp onto in it. It's just like, there's all these characters they introduced at the beginning of the book, and I'm going to save you from reading it. And they all die in the first, like, so the first chapter is this person, I'm like, oh, this seems like a cool character, dead. Next chapter, oh, this character seems awesome, dead. Next, it just went on and on like that. And I'm like, who's the main character in this book? I don't know, and I don't care. So I've read it, I've done it. There you go. High Republic. Crap. Go on. I'm so angered about this book. I don't know.
Not gonna,
You gonna burn it?
gonna make Oprah's book of the month.
I just think it's just a section of Star Wars we don't need to know about. There's nothing there. It's like, I don't need to know about every little piece of Star Wars. Like, just move the story ahead. I want to know what's going on now in Star Wars. Like, anyways, that's my beef on Star Wars. Woo! Okay, Ben, you're next after that. Scathing report.
I struggled this year. I think my biggest miss is the biggest part of my life is collecting records, I think. And I had such a struggle with the prices of a lot of it. I think we may have even touched on this last year, but with exclusives and, and this goes with anything collectible. Like, this isn't just vinyl. This could be anything that you collect. Prices have gone up like a crazy amount. The exclusivity has become such a joke where it's like, it's impossible to find. And then when you do find it, it's like 10 times the price that it should be. I struggle with that a lot. And, with jobs getting cut back and seeing prices skyrocket everywhere, to have like the joy in your life become so expensive.
Yeah.
It's just been nuts. Like, it was one of those things that, and Luke, obviously you're a huge collector too, and you can attest to this. Like, when you start the collection process and, you think, this is going to be a fun time, a little time killer. It's also a huge money killer. You don't know what to get yourself into.
Yeah, I bought, it was like the 40th anniversary of Acton Baby, or of like U2's
30th.
album?
40?
I bought
30.
I bought 30th.
Oh, 80, yeah.
Yeah. So I bought it, and it was like $60, like, for the album. Like, it was expensive. Like, it might even more than that, like 66 or something. I'm like, but then it's like the collector in me is like, oh, it's one of my favorite U2 albums. I'm like, oh, I gotta get it. And so I got it, but I'm like, it's way too expensive.
At the risk of always bringing up Bowie, they've been releasing like era box sets, so generally like 5 albums at a time, sort of thing, or 5 years of his output in these eras. And they've run, I think you can find some of the older ones for about $250. And the new one came out, and it's the exact albums that I don't have, that are really, really hard to find. And they released it, and it's $550 for basically the same sets that they've had before. It's just like,
Wow.
They're gouging for sure. Like, it's and plus, like, Bowie just sold his whole, like, didn't he sell his whole catalog?
The whole back catalogs.
Yeah, so expect another whole glut of stuff coming out, right? Like, they're gonna, it's like the Prince stuff. Like, they just keep releasing these like deluxe editions, right? And that's like, I think Sign of the Times cost me like $400 or $500 for like the deluxe. I mean, mind you, there's 60 extra tracks in it, and it was like a massive box set, but I mean, it's still overpriced. Like,
you're paying
so
$5 a
overpriced.
song there.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So ridiculous. But if you're a fan of that group, or like, it's hard
to pass by.
It's like, you have to, and then you start seeing people online that have it, and you're like, oh, why didn't I buy that? And it's like, then you feel like you're not as big a fan. And I don't know. I have a lot of issues. But I know I hear you. It's like, the prices are way too high for vinyl right now, and it's getting worse. It's just getting worse. So, all right, it's so dumb. Mrs. Neil.
Food couriers, food delivery has become like kind of like dominant in my life, especially before, when I was working those 12-hour shifts I was talking about, and I didn't really have too much time to get to the grocery store before it closes and all that. That's my excuse. And so I would have food delivery all the time, and to my apartment as well. But unfortunately, Skip the Dishes is my least favorite courier. Some of them are really good, some of them are good, but Skip the Dishes is the worst, because they skip the service sometimes too. Okay. Sometimes they skip your drink. Sometimes they skip your, part of your meal. Sometimes they forget you altogether, and then you have to call them. The quality control of that job must be so difficult, for people in charge. They just mean like what do you mean you forgot the Pepsi? What do you mean you forgot the hot sauce? What is, like they forget things. They drop things in my apartment. Actually, this is really bad, and this only happened one time, but it happened last week. I ordered some BK, okay, because they got the cherry Coke, right? So I ordered a Whopper meal, and I go downstairs and I get the text right away, and I go downstairs immediately. I'm not dawdling or nothing, not making the guy wait. He literally came in, and I get downstairs and I see this other guy, this Jake Paul looking guy. Seriously, he had like the blonde hair and everything. He was a young guy, and he comes at me and he's carrying a Burger King bag.
Yeah.
And I go, "Oh, are you from Skip the Dishes?" And he goes, "No." And I go, "Oh, did you get Burger King too right now?" And he goes, "No."
What?
You got your food?
I see the receipt. Oh, this is my meal. Thanks for trying to grab it. Because the Skip guy, it's the Skip guy's fault because he handed it to him. He doesn't know who he's handing it to. So like I said, there's no quality control here. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like a Yelp review or go off on a rant or something here, but I'm telling you, it's like, wow, like not all the couriers do that, but Skip the Dishes did that, and I ordered way too much like an idiot from them all year. Out of convenience,
Yeah.
And so many times, just too many times have they failed. So I'm done with them. I don't deal with them at all. I literally I either go right to the source, right to the original business and order delivery from them, or one of the better couriers. But that was that wasn't the biggest bad thing that happened in 2021 by any stretch. It was a bad year, but that's the one I'll bitch about. That's the one I'll complain about right now. So
yeah, I struggle with food delivery stuff. I spoke to somebody who worked at Angel's Diner, and they said like the markup on Skip or on any of them, like the food itself is more expensive. The business doesn't make, because Skip and all of those couriers, they actually like demand a discount sort of thing. So the restaurants are selling their food for less than they would, but then Skip charges you more, and you've got delivery fees, you've got the mandatory optional tip, you've got all that. So, like it's just it adds up so quickly, and I feel bad for the businesses because they're almost like they're kind of cornered in this way where they got to get rid of their food. They don't want it to just sit there and go bad, but Skip has such a stranglehold on them, I think.
Okay, I'm starving now. Larry, go on.
All right, I only have one miss.
Okay. Oh no.
That is that I introduced the High Republic to Loop.
That
is my only miss, because
had a pretty good year then.
Because the first 100 pages that I read, I really liked.
Okay.
And I love the fact that they're going back in time. Like, I think it's cool. I think it's going to be cool to see where this all came from, and what like the Sith and Jedi battles and the wars and all of those sorts of things. It's almost, to me, it's like Game of Thrones in Star Wars land. Like that's the way I look at it. So I'm really excited about it. So I regret having introduced it.
Hey, Luke, can I borrow that book?
Yes,
you more. I'll drop it off, seriously, if you want it.
There's dragons in Star Wars anyway, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so it's just like that. That's my biggest regret of 2021.
Well, good. I'm glad. Every year my miss has something to do with you. Like last year it did as well. Crystal last year was my I don't know why I listen. I do not know why I listen to you.
I don't know.
All right. Let's move on to what you're excited for in 2022 in the land of geek, because there's lots going on and lots have been announced. And I'll start it off. I'm excited about Salem's Lot this year. They're doing a Salem's Lot movie. It comes out on September 9th, 2022. And based on just how much I loved it and some of the other stuff that Stephen King projects, they've really upped the game on it. And I like the mini series, but I think I've read the book and I think they could do so much more with it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with Salem's Lot this year. I think I'm quite excited about it. I think it's a great story, and I think it'll come across better with better special effects as well for this year. So that's mine for this year. Perfect. What about you, Larry?
Well, of course, everything goes back to Star Wars with me.
Oh, God.
So I am super excited, if they keep on schedule, about the TV shows that are scheduled for 2022 in the Star Wars universe on Disney Plus. We have a lot of them. So this is like the Marvel universe in Star Wars terms for TV. So of course the Book of Boba Fett continues into 2022. Then late summer we've got Andor, based on Cassian Andor from Rogue One. Then the Obi-Wan Kenobi series drops this year. There hasn't been a date given yet, but that one comes this year. The Bad Batch season 2 is happening this year, and season 1 of the Bad Batch was fantastic.
It was good. It was really good.
Talk about animation and good animated storytelling. That was I thought it was fantastic. So
I loved
Bad
it.
Batch season 2 comes out this year, and of course Mandalorian season 3 is expected to drop late 2022. So we're getting back to the Mando series, which everybody is excited about. So there is a lot of Star Wars this year, and quite honestly, I mean, if they continue with the quality of their storytelling on TV, I'm okay with a delay in the movies. Like, just change your focus and put them all on TV. I mean, first of all, you get longer stories. You get like 6 to 8 hours of storytelling per series, as opposed to like a 2-hour movie. And the quality is just remarkable. I mean, it's almost like, you know, in the past you'd wait to see something on the big screen because they could do so much more with special effects. Well, they've transferred all that to TV. So
Yeah.
you know, so I'm so excited about this year in the Star Wars universe, and to see how, I just cross my fingers that they keep up the quality, because it's really, this is like a golden era of Star Wars content. Let's just keep it going.
All righty. Neil, what do you say?
Most anticipated of 2022. Right away this month, there's a show coming back called Resident Alien, and I kind of plugged this show last year when I did this with you guys last year. It's a show about an alien played by Alan Tudyk, and he's supposed to destroy the Earth, but he winds up falling in love with this little town in the Midwest USA, and it's really funny because, you know, he just goes straight forward and does things that you would think an alien would do, that doesn't care about, you know, courtesy, you know, or anything like that. They just plows right through, you know, life or whatever he's doing. He doesn't care about other people. He's here to destroy them anyway. But he does eventually learn to kind of love some of them. And in season 1, he winds up kind of betraying his fellow aliens and does not blow up the Earth and tries to go back, but one of the kids stows away on his ship, so now he has to go back to Earth. So
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that coming back. A lot of other shows that are coming back, of course, too many to name, really. I think The Walking Dead is ending this year, is it?
It is. Yeah, it'll be the final.
Finally over. So I'm gonna watch that just because might as well, right? I've seen so much of it already. There's a video game called Stray coming out that's about a cat. You play a stray cat, and I've seen the trailers for it. It's way more interesting than it sounds. It's actually fascinating. I think it's going to be a big hit, quite frankly.
Cool.
And a couple other things. Oh, I'm going to forget, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, obviously Obi-Wan. Come on, you know, how could you not be excited for that? Especially since we got Hayden Christensen, fellow Canadian boy, you know, coming back as Darth Vader, but not as Flesh. I don't know. We don't know anything about the show, but we'll see. And of course, who could, you know?
Oh yeah.
This is the way, right? So yeah. Also, Sandman. That was the one I was going to forget.
Oh right, yes.
They're adapting Sandman, and I think that's this year on Crave. I think HBO Max or something. I'm not even sure. I have to look more into it, but that's something I've been looking forward to for a while, since I love those old Neil Gaiman comics, and I hope it's good. You know, it looks good so far from what I've seen. I hope they don't botch the end like they did with Preacher, but we'll see. Hopefully it's a good adaptation. So yeah, just too much to look forward to entertainment wise in 2022, but those are my picks.
All right. Finally, Ben, what are you looking forward to?
I think a lot of the tentpole movies I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing how the new Batman movie is going to turn out. I had this conversation. Everybody's always a little hesitant when a new actor is announced. Robert Pattinson seemed like a bit of an odd choice, but it's looking like it's coming together really nicely. The trailers are all really, really cool. Yeah. Colin Farrell as a Penguin looks incredible. And did they already greenlight like a spinoff? Is he going to have his own show or something? I think.
Oh yes, I had heard that. Yeah. So I mean, you talk about confidence behind something. I guess they're really thinking this is going to turn out really well. Really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to Doctor Strange. I like the idea of like the horror elements that they're going to bring to it. Sam Raimi as the director.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Cool. Wanda.
And I'm cautiously optimistic on Jurassic World. I still the Jurassic World movies. I loved the first one.
Yes.
Fallen Kingdom was all right. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people did, but yeah. But even so, you kind of with the whole. What's that?
It was the worst one for me. Was Fallen Kingdom for sure.
I think it might be the worst one, yeah, but that's still, I mean, it's a pretty high bar, I think, for a lot of those Jurassic Park. So I'm looking forward to this. I like the idea of what they're doing with everything now, bringing back old casts and new casts and combining them. I think that'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so much good stuff. I almost forgot Moon Knight too. I'm like super stoked about that. Until you said Sandman, I totally forgot about Moon Knight. Like that might be my thing I'm most excited about, because I've read the comics for years and I'm just excited to see what the Batman spinoff Moon Knight is. Everybody calls him Batman, like it's the Marvel's Batman or something, but it's totally different than Batman. Okay, guys. So
the Dark Knight, it's the Moon Knight. Yeah,
it's the Moon Knight.
Right.
He's just different. He's a little different.
Totally different.
No, I'm really excited about that movie or that Disney Plus show. I think it's going to be really cool. So, yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention that I'm super excited about, that I was also super excited about in 2021.
Okay.
Maybe even 2020. I'm not really sure. I don't know if it went back that far. Is Top Gun Maverick.
I knew you were going to say that once you started saying how far back.
Yeah,
I 2019 originally.
It just kept, and every year I'm super excited about it, and every year it keeps getting pushed. So now it's been pushed. I think it's in May of this year. I think that's where it is. But I love the original Top Gun. This one looks like they're gonna keep the nostalgia. Like Neil, like you were saying, it's all about nostalgia, and I think that they're keeping the nostalgia of the Top Gun. As soon as the music started playing and you saw the action, and the fact that Tom Cruise is now actually flying, like learned to fly one of these jets, that's crazy to me. So I'm really excited. I just hope that this is the year it actually happens. If not, I'm gonna put it on my list for 2023.
Well, that is it. That's the show. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you for joining us and giving us your insight. And thank you so much, Neil, wherever Neil's gone. How many helmets do you own? I've seen at least 3.
He's like Neil, man of 1,000 faces.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great 2022. Larry and I are going to be back with more podcasts this year. And
that's the plan.
We've signed a 5-year commitment, and we're going to fulfill it, and we'll go from there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time on Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Bye-bye.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. Fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.